Hi, I'm Mark Pikert, founder of Meet Me at Crafty, and you are here for an episode of Come Fly With Me, where we talk to the artisans building the plane in midair. Joining me this time is Jeff Beal, the composer of All Her Fault, and a 6-time Emmy winner.
Actually, 5-time.
Now, you corrected me earlier when I said 5.
I did. Well, I won an Emmy for a news documentary award. It depends how you're counting. It's either 5 or 6.
Well, you own 6 statuettes.
I do.
So we're going to say 6.
Let's say it's an Emmy, damn it.
It's half a dozen. It's a half a dozen Emmys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me at the beautiful Aviator on Melrose right now. What I find so interesting about your process is you're classically trained, but also you have a heavy background in improvisational music as well.
Yeah.
Not improv as in you're at the Groundling studio.
Although it's very pretty much the same thing, you know? It's making shit up.
But I'm curious, with a show like All Her Fault, which is a fairly heavy drama about a kidnapped child, how are you approaching that, telling that story with the score?
There's a visceral nature to these types of stories, which I feel leads well to the improvisational part of my musical voice, because one of the first decisions I had to make, was, our show sort of opens right at the beginning. I mean, Sarah Snook opens the store and finds that her son's, this is even a house where he was supposed to be. One of the things you try to do musically, well, that's a feeling, but what is that feeling? I mean, it's beyond sad, it's shock, but I almost went to, it's almost like a type of nausea. You can't breathe, I started playing around with this sort of rumbling bass line that was sort of gurgling in the bottom, almost as if she's dizzy, she can't breathe, she's hyperventilating. But on top of that, I created a very simple pattern of 4 notes, which I didn't know that when I wrote it, but that actually became the theme for Milo. So again, I'm just playing around, trying out ideas, and seeing what really stuck to the film and the picture.
Is that typically how you approach a project? Are you watching it from the beginning and writing as you go along, or are you watching it all the way through and then seeing where the music lands?
Yeah, it was a little overwhelming, given this is a great format to say this in, because I definitely felt like I was building the plane as I was flying it, because I was hired pretty late in the process. Basically, by the time I came on board, everything had been shot and edited. It was like, here's all 8 episodes, and where's the music? So I mean, I had time to do it, but I had this feeling like, and I was so good. It's like, oh my gosh, I want to make this better. Obviously, was the goal. But even though I sort of had the sense, and I watched all 8 episodes, so I had a sense of where we were going, I love to write chronologically. To me, it's really important that the score sort of tracks the emotional journey of the audience, and also is really where they are in the story. Obviously, one of the things that's great about All Her Fault is almost every episode there's some new revelation which uncovers this layer of the onion as to what the real mystery is in our story.
Well, I was going to ask, with a project like this where you're starting here with the disappearance of a child, like how do you build from that?
No, it's really true. I mean, Sarah Snook did a great job, for example, because there's levels to her journey in the first 3-4 episodes. It is shock, then it becomes anger, and I think and sadness, and so it's really wonderful. Like, there were many beats of that journey for her. Obviously in our show, spoiler alert, but you think the real mystery is where's Milo? And that is the big mystery, but he's found about halfway through. And so the mystery becomes who took him and why. That was really the trick of the show. How do you keep the tension and also find variations within this story that sort of up the stakes and make each hour feel like it's its own special little movie in a sense.
But also there's so many twists near the end, including the final moment where everything kind of resolves itself.
Yeah.
That could have been played for a darker comedy. There could be a very funny aspect to how things go. Were there conversations around how to navigate that tone?
It was very interesting, because one of the things we talked about early on, because I read the book, and is this whole idea of human behavior. And really, each character does some pretty remarkable things, some pretty, what you could call amoral things. And one of the things I love about the show is this idea of what would we do in these situations? Even Peter, the husband, who is pretty much a narcissist and not not a likable person, you can actually, in that moment, have some sort of emotional justification for what he chooses to do, right? At the very end, Marissa's decision as to what to do is a wonderful turn, because you don't know that where it's going to go. You think it is, and again, it is sort of Machiavellian, or because it's almost like you really believe for a second that she's just gonna, this is okay. She's gonna just reconnect with Peter, and this crazy dysfunctional family's gonna live happily ever after. So I guess one of the things I loved about doing this show is that messiness of life, the moral ambiguity of life, and the decisions sometimes we have to make.
Well, I mean, for a show that's this messy, did your score change? Did it go through several evolutions as you're working on it?
I think, I try to write from the truth of the characters. I'm a perfect example. Lieutenant Alcarez, the investigator, who in most shows would just be sort of a functional storytelling character. He's the guy that finds the clues and helps you solve the mystery. Turns out he has a child with special needs. And I think in episode 4, maybe he actually makes a very tragic decision morally to do something so that his son can get in a school. And that's a completely relatable, understandable decision. But it's also there's a sadness to it. There is sort of almost what I would call an operatic dark humor to this story.
Yes.
And you hear that in the score. I mean, I think the first place I found that tone was in episode 1, when Peter kind of really sort of goes into Marissa at the end there with the investigator, and he says, well, he kind of digs her. He says, well, you could have checked the number. He kind of blames her. It's like, it is your fault. That's the name of the series. And it's this great moment of this, all of a sudden, this relationship is completely thrown into crisis. And really, I went pretty big there. That's when the first string line, da-da-dee-da-dee-da, is sort of operatic string line starts. And it's like, and we had a lot of discussions internally, and I had my own gut check. Is like, well, this is, I chose to go pretty big, and we all decided that we earned it. This is a big deal, It's well known that couples that lose a child, for example, a lot of times the marriage does not survive, and that's a very understandable thing. And this is sort of a big moment for them.
Well, then you also have the much more obviously darkly humorous subplot of Dakota Fanning and her husband.
Yes.
Where he's hiding out in his car.
Yeah, scrolling reels instead of, My wife and I were joking about this a lot because we were thinking about our moms. And my wife's a mother, we have a son. And the whole idea of motherhood is the toughest job in the world, the most thankless job. And no matter what happened, and it's also where all the blame lands. It's always going to be the mom's fault. The mom is the last bastion of safety and comfort and warmth and executive function for the family.
And yet the fathers are the ones who are always most exhausted.
Yes.
In the show.
Oh yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm so tired. It's so. And this was. I had to laugh at myself, and it was hard to watch with my wife because it's so easy being a guy. We have so many easy outs.
I'm just picturing your wife nudging you throughout the show.
A lot of nudging went on.
Now I know that you often play all the instruments. Was that true for All Her Fault as well?
Not really, but I love making music. I mean, you mentioned improvisation. I came from jazz trumpet. I'm a music maker. For this score, I played all the piano. There wasn't a trumpet, which is sometimes something else I'd play. I produce all my scores, so anything that's not a string orchestra, I guess you could say I played it because I realized it electronically. I was so glad I learned early on that we had budget for a string orchestra, so I had a string orchestra over for pretty much every episode, and that is a sound I love. I've used it in a lot of my scores, including House of Cards. I just feel like it was so perfect for this story because it can be sort of Hitchcockian and edgy. It can be, but it also can be emotional and really tragic. So that, knowing that I had that ensemble, I was able really to write to that group, and I felt like it was a real.
I mean, it just gives you so many colors with just the one ensemble that you can, and for a show as multi-tonal as this is as well.
Well, I'll tell you something funny I did when, in the very first episode, I had this little 4-note theme for Milo, for example, and I actually did a sampling session with the string orchestra, sort of just doing these effects and playing those 4 notes, but in a round or doing it in crazy orders. And when I got to the very last episode, when it's almost like the wheels are coming off everything, I sort of DJ'd in some of those sounds, and it was really a fun way of sort of having the DNA of all these little musical things. It's like mixing a drink, right? And one of the things that really fascinates me about All Her Fault in the twist, which I won't give away, but this whole idea of the relationship between a mother and a child, you know, and the bond of that being so primal and almost, it was really kind of religious. And you know, the episode I'm going to do some music of at the concert at Royce tomorrow is, you know, you have to pick an episode. It's like picking your favorite child. It's horrible. It is really a Sophie's choice, but I picked episode 7, which was really the story of Carrie, who you learn what her story was. And all the time you're watching this series, you think it's the journey of one mother, but it actually is the journey of 2 mothers and what happened to them. And I just really loved the way that show turned out. There were some great opportunities for music. And I feel like that final scene when she walks into the water and the audience, we learn what happens. Such a devastating, powerful scene that I just felt like that was an emotional high point in the score that I was really proud of.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful work all across the board, and I'm so pleased that you were able to join me today.
My pleasure, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for watching.